When you get a medical test, you just assume the results are right. But have you ever stopped to think about how they make sure it's accurate? It's not an accident. There's this whole hidden system behind the scenes, a system of quality assurance. And today we're going to pull back that curtain and see how this process, something you've probably never even thought about, is absolutely critical for your health. Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want you to understand just how high the stakes are. Get this, a major report back in 2016 found that medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the US. I mean, that's right behind heart disease and cancer, and a huge chunk of those tragic errors, they start with diagnostic testing.
So that staggering number really begs the question, a question that doctors and hospital administrators have been wrestling with for a long time. How do we actually build a safer system? How do we create something that catches these errors before they happen, especially when people's lives are on the line?
You'd think this would be simple, but one of the biggest challenges is just figuring out what quality even means in healthcare. I mean, look at the US. We spend way more on healthcare than any other developed country. But our results, well, they don't really match up. So it's kicked off this massive shift in thinking, moving away from just doing more stuff to focusing on the actual value of the care we're getting.
So to try and get a handle on this, the Institute of Medicine came up with a framework. They said, okay, quality isn't just one thing, it's 6. So they laid out these 6 domains. It's not just about getting the diagnosis right, it's also about safety, effectiveness, being efficient, and really focusing on the patient. This gave everyone a target to shoot for. But the weird part? The plan for how to actually hit that target? Well, it came from a place you would never, ever expect.
So where did these brilliant ideas for making healthcare safer come from? You might think a fancy university or a top-tier research hospital, right? Nope. The answer is a car factory. Seriously. Think about the famous Toyota production system. Their whole goal was simple: build the best quality car for the lowest cost in the shortest amount of time and empower your employees while you do it. Now look at a modern medical lab. What are they trying to do? Provide safe, effective, timely, and patient-centered care. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? The core ideas are almost identical. And right at the core of this whole Toyota philosophy is a concept called Kaizen. It's a Japanese word that basically means continuous improvement. And this isn't about some big-shot executive handing down massive changes. No. It's the opposite. It's about creating a culture where everyone, from the person cleaning the floors to the CEO, is constantly looking for small, tiny ways to make things a little bit better every single day. Another idea they borrowed from manufacturing is something called Six Sigma. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a super-structured way to solve problems. It's this 5-step process. You define the problem, measure how big it is, analyze what's causing it, improve the process, and then control it to make sure the problem doesn't come back. It's all about using data to find and fix issues for good. And really, this is the most important part. It's a total culture shift. Traditional management is all about the boss telling everyone what to do. But these systems, they flip that completely on its head. The whole idea is that the people on the front lines, the nurses, the techs, the people actually doing the work, they're the real experts. They're the ones who know how to make things better. It's about making quality everyone's job.
Okay, so the philosophy makes a ton of sense, but a car factory is not a hospital, right? So how do you take these ideas and actually make them work in the messy, complicated world of a medical lab? Let's dig into how they turn this theory into a real, practical system.
In healthcare, they call this whole approach continuous quality improvement, or CQI for short. And the absolute key to CQI is that it focuses on the process, not the person. So when a mistake happens, the first question isn't who screwed up. The question is, what's wrong with our system that allowed this to happen? And how do we fix the system so it never happens again? It's a game changer. The engine that drives all this is a really simple but super powerful 4-step loop. It goes like this. Plan a change you want to make. Do it, but just on a small scale as a test. Check the results. Look at the data and see what happened. And then act on what you learned. You either roll out the change everywhere or you go back to the drawing board. Plan, do, check, act. It's this constant loop of getting better.
Now, that check step is super important, and a huge part of it is just measuring how accurate your tests are. And they use a simple grid like this to do it. It helps them track every possible outcome. Did the test say you have the disease when you do? That's a true positive. Did it say you don't when you actually do? That's a false negative. All this data, that's the fuel that makes the whole improvement engine run.
Okay, so a lab might be doing all this great work internally, but how does anyone on the outside, you, your doctor, your insurance company, know they're doing a good job? Well, that's where accreditation comes in. You can think of it like a good housekeeping seal of approval for medical labs. It's an outside group coming in and saying, yep, these guys are doing things right.
But accreditation isn't perfect. There are definitely two sides to this coin. The good part? It gives labs a roadmap to follow, and that outside validation is really valuable. The bad part? It can be a massive amount of work for the staff. It only happens every few years, so it might miss daily problems. And sometimes labs just submit their best work for the review. Critics say it can sometimes feel more like cramming for a test than actually learning the material day to day.
Because of those limitations, the whole world of quality assurance is starting to evolve. People are realizing that the future can't just be about getting a good grade on a report card every few years. It has to be something more.
And here's the big shift, the main takeaway. The focus is moving away from that big, stressful, intermittent audit and toward building a strong internal culture of quality, something that's alive and working every single day, not just when the inspectors are coming.
So what does that actually look like on the ground? Well, now accreditation bodies are saying, okay, it's not enough to just check a few cases every 3 years. We need you to be constantly monitoring these key things. They're asking labs to track things like, was the right test even ordered in the first place? Was the scan or image clear enough? Was the doctor's interpretation correct? And was the final report easy to understand and sent out on time? It's about looking at the entire process, all the time.
And look at that. We've come full circle. Right back to that idea from the car factory. The future of healthcare quality is Kaizen. It's about getting to a place where every single person in that hospital or lab feels like they own a piece of it, where they feel responsible for making things better. It's a shared mission.
So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. Real quality isn't about an audit. It's not about checking a box. It's about building a culture. It's about making this way of thinking part of the very DNA of the organization.
And that leaves us with one last big idea to think about. We're always looking for the next big medical breakthrough, right? Some miracle drug or a fancy new machine. But what if the biggest secret to better healthcare isn't a piece of technology at all? What if it's just a different way of thinking? A new mindset for everyone involved, where everyone is committed to getting just a little bit better every single day.